So we want to try now and produce better force diagrams.
Ta ngara zumuni tanda shugi remote yaro time das di ngara zu yaga tuyench tabshi chenis.
So in order to do that, we need to be able to label the forces.
Dila dugala shugi remote yo remote yo na shita shugdi di chungu la ni thigwe jora chik di zo tenzo theres ta gadi.
Because if I just have an arrow, I do not know who is exerting the force and on whom that force is exerted.
Hala na remote chikbuji da roji chikbu tyen shain bana di shugdi khane ni khawla gegi me jora di seuche haku mares chezan ta ge jora ma yigi thon the di peju cheres.
So if this is Bryce and I'm pushing on Bryce, if this is Bryce and I'm pushing on Bryce, then I can ask the question, what is the force that Stamatis exerts on Bryce?
The two khari tangir law na Stamatis ki Bryce la shuk khaju gegi ure la jura shuk khari gegi ure slandi two diligi ures.
So Stamatis is pushing on Bryce, and so the force will be that way.
The shuk khandi law na shuk di pha gyadu gala chok phajosh tinguruas chok di pha chagi ures ta di pha tendo.
And I will label it with an F for force.
Ta thanda rimuchik bu mai ba label la na ta gya durwa bingjang jagi yo dindiro dila du gala ta shuk le jora so nam ju thiri na force le ra dig chap langi F lan thie is
On Bryce by Stamatis.
ta shuk la du F lan ta gya so di ani sui gang la shuk gya de re price gang la gya de re gyangin du sur la na Stamatis ki gya de res.
Okay? So this reminds me that forces arise in pairs between two objects. This is the object on which the force is exerted, and this is the object that exerts that force.
Dilo du nye ni sho na shi shuk la di cha cha ni gyur la jura thanda dina cha sho no ngobu ni cha sho no price the Stamatis chagi res gyasa da gyagin di res.
So if I cannot find a force that is exerting a force, if I cannot find an object that is exerting a force, then the force is probably not there.
Ta kesi shuk gyagin gi ngobu chi mewai na shuk di peje mewa ta chijo chi res ngobu ji mewai na.
Let me show you what I mean.
Ta ngi khari shio di ta dishe thoni gyawai na chi pesun shawos.
Bryce, would you mind sitting here? So I'm going to push Bryce this way.
Ta ngarang gi Bryce di phajo la buen is.
While my hand was touching the chair, I was exerting a force on the chair by Stamatis.
Ta thanda ngi lakbe di kubja di ga chame kapsu ngi gi shuk ji ma gya res.
After the chair lost contact with my hand,
Ta lakwa chame rebe kapsu chayra di jela ani ma le chawe jelas ma rebe kapsus.
was there a force on the chair?
Ta rebe ga su shuk yore sungra ta di ma buja tang chawe jel ta jela reg mara phasu thu mara di kapsu ni shuk yor welas Stamatis ki shuk gya jo di ani lakwa ma chawe kapsu shuk di yor yo mares kubja di ga. Okay, mixed. Some are saying yes, some are saying no.
Okay, so can I hear an argument that says yes, while the chair was moving, but I was not touching it, there was a force on the chair by me.
다 카시기 요레 송라 락보 마창웨 캅소 굽제디 구조당도 갈라 스타미더스키 슈크디 갸조디 요레 시위라 슈크디 요레스 요레 송엔디 킨조 케란조난 디시 갱이 요레스 다 안데스
비샤자들 코타난 기데라 바기 티디콜 슈요데레스
because of this force the chair is still moving, so he's saying like the force is there.
So Bryce's chair is still moving. Who caused that? I caused that.
The Bryce ki kubje di gujo tangi yoras gujo tae di ju khari cha derlana stamatus cha deres.
But let's see if there is evidence that there is a force that is being exerted.
Tadanda shu gyadu lajara dila pangda anjo khari yores da.
While I'm pushing, my fingers are squished, the chair is squished.
Bujatang we kapsu lagwa chang we kapsu ra kubje dige ma chirgyo thongu do as thana shi jugu de ka ucha yora ma chir shegyo di thongu yores pangda di.
So I have evidence that there is a force pair that exists in that situation.
Dila du nedan dende kapsu pha chu niga la chaji yo ara shugi chaji yo nga jogi thongu yores pangda di yores.
Do you agree?
Sama medun yores di.
After the chair left my hand, there is no squishing of my fingers, there is no squishing of the chair. So, on the basis of what we have discussed so far, there cannot be a force by stamatis on the chair after the chair is no longer touching.
Dila du ngweni thudur khari nganju thudur chair sevena dila pa be sheoina thanda ngigi lagbo le sawe jela ani shugdi yo mares.
Do you see?
Seucha selosti thanda.
Because the only way that I can exert a force on the chair is by touching it.
Khais na ngigi shugdi khadu kya thur seoina te jora shugedi ngigi lagbo chana mashi shugdi kya thu yo mares.
Do you agree?
Sama metu yo estila.
Tana kundu jimpang gerchu ton ndroyora. Ndroyate ku nyetsi ndroyate shikni jabki minu kudin ndromara.
So without any force, how come this chair is moving? So without force, how this chair is moving?
This is a wonderful question. I want to repeat that. Without a force, how is the chair moving?
The chair di kharlan shug meo ina di kubja di yogu khandes chair rest ra di. Di chair reshas thandadi.
To start to move, did the chair require a force?
Thanda kubja di gujo tang so. Gujo tang la ni khoran la shug ji gugu dues. Gotswela. Yes.
Did it have a force exerted on it?
Di kan la shug ji gya yo rues. Yes.
So, a question for us to write down, we will not answer right now, but we will answer it tomorrow, is there a force needed for the chair to continue to move?
Ta gujo tang la thangbo gotswe dila la ko chang ore shug ji te ore la ra. Di jel muithu ni gujo tang jura. Dila shug gugu yore yo mare lan thiwa yis. Thiwa di len di tharin ting men sangi te yis.
구제도 먼저는 자유여장 예세나 아니 휴디여레스
Shug ji yores.
코도로 휴디여레스
Shug ji yore song ra ge.
어때고 빵 따기 휴자유 빵다 따기데 가르라르세도 좀좀 까부르 차도아스 되게 꾸자 만는도 도와 제가 띠파드나고 라바티 파 휴자유 빵다 때레 아니 가르서그로 다기 꾸자 냄로야테 술 부조자 휴테레세로와 디인도 타타타 꾸자 먼트는 로야테고 꾸자 티강을 휴여 땅세테 먼트는 로야테레세나.
The chair is because there's force. That's why the chair is still moving.
So the chair is not moving now.
다 단다 굽자디 부조 땅금 도스.
I'm going to exert a force on the chair.
다 슈그지 게인스 굽자디가.
So to get it to move, it needed a force.
다디 요구 체라 슈그지 구구요 레스.
So the question that we need to keep in mind, it's a very important question, is after my hand has left the chair, does the chair need a force to continue to move?
The tiwa di kechumbu shure samlo na yagu sharu ches. Tadi lago chayo ga su bujo tang do. Le sayo jela gujo shtang yora. Di gujo tang la shu gugu yore yo mares. Mutu ni gujo tang duda. Di la shu gugu yore yo mares. Yes, it needs force. Most of them are saying yes, it needs force.
So keep that in mind, and we will come back to this question.
Oda tiwa di thola rangja ya jela yunga yisma.
Today we are going to mainly concentrate on objects that are not going to be moving.
Di la duda thari nganzo thanda choden dinal khari korla jayar lawaina ngobu gujo mata ya. Dinde thola jaya yes.
And tomorrow we will do experiments to answer that question.
Ani sangi thanda tiwa ji yo di leng gela sangi taje ni ani len di thebgi res.
Is that okay? So, I understand that in Buddhism, there is no objects do not touch.
Objects do not touch. The nangche na langi khari khos lana ngobo denjo pensu thugu yo mar regi yo mar lajora dishigi yo res.
Atoms do not touch.
Duten denjo pensu regi yo mar lani shigi yo res.
And so, the scientific picture is similar to that. Indeed, the atoms in my fingers do not come in contact with the atoms on the chair.
Cheri ki shedang di di ro cha de res. Duten denjo pensu regi yo mar lajora. Thanda tadu gala lago changbi thongu da sine duten denjo pensu regi yo mar res phachu. La zugu gi duten da thanda chokje thanda kubja diga duten yora pensu thugu yo mar res.
But in order for us to decide that, we need to think about a microscopic model for what is happening in the chair, teeny, tiny, and in my fingers in a teeny, tiny way.
Dila du galata di pesu ro shagoina thamo shu shagoe chagi res durenga phagurama dila du gala pesu shagoina ma thamo shu gal phagu ki res.
Macroscopically, in the interactions between objects that we can see and are all around us, we can say that there is touching.
Tanganzu chi raba inde tadu gala kharir microscope lan mi thoya yo la ora tinde raba gal tadu gala manju dus tadu gala thuk de josh thung yo res rek de yoji.
Because we can feel the touch.
Ha lana chi kharis na manju chorgu yo res thu wadi regi yodi.
So, we are going to be using this labeling system to label our forces.
Ta thanda shu kor la deshe ye ra ma deshe gya du gala khatu na thanda ta gya jua thanda mingjang lo suni tende ta ge ge du res.
So what we would like you to do, that's fine, is we have this box, and I'm going to put the box on the floor, and I want you in your groups on your whiteboards to draw and label a diagram of all the forces that are exerted on the box, only on the box.
ta thanda khari chen la wa na thanda di shogam di ma sha so agele di sai teng la sha da di shagyo di kiran zo khari nang gor la na thanda karbang yo sama ruwa ri la di nang lo la thanda di shogam shagyo di gala shuk khagas kege yo me jora shuk chasang khagas yo di changma ma ta gyani ma ko sharu chis remote.
We would like you to divide the whiteboard so that each person in your group creates a drawing.
Ale thanda di ruka chik gi remote chik swe rem du khaila na ruka chik na minga thu yora mi re gi so thanda chashi sugi ya thumbu tani mi thu yo na thumbu thu ta so rangi remote re ko sharu chis dina mi re gi samsu ra da loga chayra.
So we are drawing the forces that are exerted on the box only.
Ta thanda nganjo shuk de tyong gore la sa rimunan shuk hari tyong gor la na di thanda shogam digal shuk khaju kyagi yeme jora ondi shuk din jo tyong gu res.
Those forces are going to be drawn like arrows.
Ta shuk de khari gal chher la wa na chhenje khari pheju chigire nganjo da juya da di pheju che res.
And let us agree to draw the forces. Here is a picture of the box.
Ta pezun ro shaw na shogam girmu ro sthio na dinde thushi na mo sthira diche.
And so here is a picture of the box. And we are going to draw the forces with their tails exerted on the box. We will draw the tail of the arrow on the box.
Ta thanda da dila go da jugla ni do jug di ani shuku gangla ke thogyo dinde tyong gu res.
Okay?
Seo cha se.
So, and if there is an arrow, you have to tell us who is exerting the force and on which object the force is exerted.
Ta shuk dana tyungra di tyungu yo ina kharigi tak mubo kharigi khari la shuk gyagi yor la jora tanda ngoi la di ta gyaswa di ro ta gyagu res.
So each person should have one drawing that they drew on the whiteboard.
Ta mi rere la rimu rere chagro ata dinala karbangale jimi susu rangi rimu chik gu res.
If you want to take photos of your earlier drawings on the whiteboard before you erase, that could be a nice thing to do.
Kiran zo ngoi ni thanda rimu tisha gyo di subra di subshana di res ani thamanyela masuk ngoi la kiran zo par gya shawe na takda dira chela.
You don't have to.
Inji mi sta gyao mar les par gya shana sa ni jela kiran zo themba dira.
Would you mind?
Thanda shogam gi pesun ji sha sa dila du shogam gi tango bo shen la shu khari gyagyo me jora di tyong gu yo mares shogam la tsu shu gyagyo jora di shu khari me di ma rimuna ma tyong gu res. Sama sha shera ta shuk jura shogam gala shuk khari gyayr la jora ondi shuk din zo ma tyong gu res rimuna shogam korang gangla shuk gyagyo shogam gi phala gyagyo mata shogam korang gala shuk gyagyo jora shogam korang gala shuk gyagyo jora odi di rimuna te odin zo ta khari ta shuk khari yo ta shuk khajo yo adi sangma ma rimuna te la. So he's saying you have to draw the force on the box only, right?
Only on the
box.
box.
So he's saying only one force, right?
If they believe that there's only one force, then they should only have one force.
Kiranta shubchikran jiyore samgyo yo aina and the ma shubchikran situation the res. So samchu ditwe ra. Shogam di yogu chigi yo mares surne res.
May I have your attention for just a moment?
Oh, ta kamachik sero na samalo.
The physical situation that we are describing is a box that is on the floor. It is not moving, and neither Bryce nor I are pushing on it. It just is on the floor.
Di shogam di tanda sa kala shasha gyujres.
and we are only drawing the forces on the box,
Ta tanda shuk tuen jora di khari tungu gurla na shogam khorang gal shuk khari khari gya de gyujura shogam khorang gal yodi di tungu yures.
we know that all forces arise in pairs,
Ngara ju shingi yo shuk la du gal khadu na chal ni yo.
and so if we were interested in the forces on the floor, that would be a different diagram.
Ta sa di gal shuk khari gya du lai jora di ma tuen wa na ya rimu loga je chai roas di.
Right now, we are only drawing the forces on a box that is on the floor.
Tezan tanda nganzo khari ga shigor la na shogam di gal shuk khari gya yo me jora di tungu yures. Dila du ya shogam khorang gal shuk gya yo rimu di chu putuen res sa gal gya yo di mares. By the gravitational force, Earth's gravitational pull.
So which object?
Ngobo khari chha de relas ta ngobo khari relas shu gyangi di.
This is called Doeguling. Doeguling ya bija tone ya bija.
Leng me the shuk lai ba. The shuk la ta ngobo khari chha de. By Earth.
Okay. So let's draw that.
Ta sai khola resung ra. Ta di remote thi da sa shuk diga.
This is gravitational force.
Di the shuk resa. Di the shuk resa. Di shuk te ba. Shuk di khare las the shuk relas. Di the shuk re. This is gravitational force.
This is the gravitational force. Okay. So the gravitational force is exerted on the box by Earth.
Ta tanda the shuk yore la ra. The shuk di gyasa di shogam la gya che gyagen di ani sai khola roas. Yes.
And this force is the force on the box by the floor.
Ta di shuk ji tsuen do di tanda gam ga la tanda shala jora di shuk gya jo jora di tsung roas. Yes.
What can I say about the relative strength of these two forces?
Ta korani penjung gi tanda shuk ta wa na shuk ni do ni khandes chali yores. So he's saying like he feels that gravitational pull is higher, greater than this. He said both the forces are same, equal.
They need to debate that.
Ta kirangi ta se tang lasta. Chabat lasta.
Di yo di. Ko di ji chada. Sa the shi jwa. Kaga di par pan de de ji na. Pan de di ki sha gra. Sha di sai the shi ki di ban the chi. Di de ko ya bi ya ni ta ta cha yo. Ko mo ya ni di ni shi yo chi chi.
The strength, the force is equal, but since we have gravitational pull and the floor is pushing upwards, right? So because of that, this object is not moving. Because of the same force, right?
What do you think of that?
Kurangi sheju dila kirang khar samchu khari yes. Shuk chikwa yin sang bujo tang mares. I feel that the earth is so huge as compared to this object, so I feel this force is much greater than this.
Because the earth is big. Okay. Let's change the situation a little bit. I have a new floor.
So he's saying both forces are equal because of this law.
So these two forces you're saying are equal.
The shubniga chikpa resungu roas. Yes.
I'll be right back. What forces are exerted on this object?
The dingobush da, digala shukhari gadus. Shukhari gadus dingobu diga. And then gravity is pulling it downwards, gravitational force.
And
Anishimba. The weight of the object is pulling it down.
the earth is pulling it down.
No, the weight of the object. The mass.
Is that a different thing than the gravitational force due to the earth?
Sorry?
Is the weight of the object a different thing than the gravitational force?
No, it's not different.
Okay. So then the earth is pulling down. Why doesn't it fall?
Because it's hanged. It's hung
So
here.
the spring is pulling it out. How do those two forces compare?
Kelai persons lana the spring jido big ya thank you roas cheza ma sagi yo maras
mara masuku jinde yorwa ku mara khitsa thema nangjen se yorwa ku tido nyambi khitsa gunayar thengu
because the weight of the object is the gravity or the weight is pulling it down, likewise another force is pulling it upwards.
And how do the two forces compare? Are they
shubni jera
Chikpa mare?
shubni yorsera shubni ga chikpa re chikpa mares kheba yorwes both are the same.
So in this situation, rather than having the spring, I have the floor that prevents it from falling.
ta thanda nedang disha shawna thanda dido cha shawna ne la khare spring digi ya ju de ra shub digi ta thanda de shawdu ko la khare yorla na di shala digi ani ma sa chu yo mares.
So these two forces then are equal in size.
di la du wala di shub ni ga khare yore shub se chipa yore.
Oh, Genamasu. So it seems many of you have similar questions.
ta dus ta du wala khinjo mang chegi tiwa yo chipa chag dus.
The way we're going to get good at these kind of drawings is doing many of them.
ta di remove di khali yarge khaju dur la na remove di khaju mang a tiwa na digas ki yarge dures.
So, and the reason we got whiteboards was because they're very easy to erase and you can make many drawings very quickly.
di nganjo carbon di thanda matam so di pheju che khajin chigi lawa na remove khaju thina di res khalan so yan kyar do thi che do adi che res.
The thing you need to remember in making these diagrams is the rule that we discovered.
di remove the chura di la du galchi kharir la na nganjo thim jura di tendim di chamba na shagu res.
I hope all of you wrote that down, the Tibetan version.
di tendim sumba di thisa ba changme di chamba na injim di shagu res.
So odd forces come in pairs.
di la du gala shug la di khadu na chal ni ur la jura di chagu res.
If the box is pushing down on the floor,
kesi thanda shogam digi ma sagala ma shug gyur lawainas ma nim bigur lawainas
what is the floor doing?
ani sadigi ya kharch gyures sadi kharch gyures
It's also
pushing on the box
which way?
ani chok hande relas just the
Opposite. So if the box is pushing down, the floor is pushing up.
gam digi shug di ma gyures ma bigures thana shi sadigi ya bigures
The same amount or a different amount?
Se jura di chikpa re manda yores. Shuk se de. Same.
Same. So we're going to give you a way to make these diagrams so they're sort of consistent.
Di la duta thanda remote chidang jura. Di ani khali khali thar chik song ro yong ai jura. Chik jel chik onde de tawda dre ro sto dang di onde tyongi is.
So Stamatis wrote that there's an arrow and the tail of the arrow starts in the box and goes away from the box.
Di la dugal thanda de la Stamatis ki remote chi doas. Dina dadi khare lana dadi godi ya che juk de dosra. Dadi ya to yosh tuen dos.
And this is the force that's exerted on the box by the floor.
Di dach tuen doa. Di khare chungur la na. Gam gala thanda sadi shala digi shuk khaju gegu me jura shuk de tuen res.
But we know forces always have a friend.
Dila du ngazo khadu na hagu yas shuk dila khora khadu na roba jiyo.
So what other force do we need to add?
Ta digala shuk shamba khari gyagu gu resta. Digal nembe khari thigu gurta. Downward force.
The downward force. And that downward force is acting on what object?
Ta mala shuk ji tyong re sung ra. Di ani ngobo khari gal shuk gya de res. On the floor.
We're only thinking about the box.
Okay, force on the box, right?
Right.
Ale thanda di shala gala shuk khaju gya me jura di mares. Kam khurang gala shuk khari khari me gya jo shura di tyong gu res. Chik di thanda shala ge gya jo tyen so. Thana shi gam khura ga shuk shamba khari res. Gravitational force. Gravitational force.
So the cause of this force is gravity.
Ta thanda kinju tenshu yore sung ras. Di gyu di khari chagor lana thanda tenshu jura di ras.
So we need a second force here, which is the gravitational force on the box.
Ta thanda shuk niba jura di khari chagor lana tenshu di ras. Tenshu di thanda shuk di khol gya de la na gam di gal gya de ras.
Which object exerts that force on the box?
Ta thanda shuk di gam gal shuk gya la ra tenshu di. Tenshu la du gala ngobo khari chagor res.
Which object exerts the gravitational force?
Ta tenshu thanda tungye jura ngobo khari chagor res. Kishi Earth.
So then we will draw a force that is on the box by Earth.
Ta thanda tenshu jiyo re sung ra. Di la du gala ani shuk di gam gala shuk jiyo res. Di sui gya la na gya gen di sai khola lan te res di shuk ji tung gu res.
And I will put a G up here to remind me that it's the gravitational force.
Ta tenshu re la ne thanda she ra. Di la du gala gravitational force li ra. Di ji di tenshu imba chung gu res.
How big should I draw this? Where should I put the arrowhead? How big should I draw this compared to that?
Ta shuk di chung gu ra di tenshu di. Di tenshu rimu na ko du gal da ji thi ra. Da di ring le khagas thi res. Khaju thangbo shi da di da duru ai na ringdung khandes thigas. Chaga. Okay, same length.
Does everybody agree that they should be the same?
Changma metu yue las ringdung chikpa go gu yo. Yes.
Okay. And this is the set of interacting objects. Box and floor is one set of interacting objects.
Ta thanda din al cha sha du gala ngobu ni the di yo tung gu ra. Thanda di thade cha khari cha de la na gam di da ani shala di cha de res.
And which one is the other force that completes this pair? Which one is the twin force to this one that completes the pair?
Ta ngazo cha yor lan shi yor ra. Cha yor la du gala chik de cha sa. Ta ni ba jor ra di khandi cha ge res. Chua se yo cha mo se thang bo di. Di gang ta na shuk chik ten do. Shuk la du ngazo cha yor la wo ra. Ta di ya chik yor ra. Di ya di khandi res. on the floor by the box.
That one is on the floor. This is the floor. So this one is the force on the floor by the box. And this is the floor.
The chayor la du digi yajik di chayura. Dini nyam du dumna chajik chayuras.
Newton's third law tells us that every pair of objects that interacts creates a pair of forces.
Dila du Newton gi tentim na khare shigor la na ta ngobo ni chayura. Di chedu gala dini gi thanda shugni digi an chajik suguyo di tungu res.
So this force and this force are the Newton's third law force pairs.
Ta Newton gi tentim sumba la du cha yor lan shera. Dila du gala shukchik de do ta gyasa shukchik de do dini gi an chajik suguyo res.
Okay?
Seo chase.
These two objects are also interacting.
Thanashi ngobuni do dini ya thedo res pensin.
Is there a Newton's third law force pair force to complete this pair?
Ta dilagi thanda shuk shemba ju yor res ya chi digi chajik suela Newton gi tentim sumba di chela yor res shukchik digi ya yor mar cha suela. Yes, there is.
That is the force on which object by which object?
Ta yor esung ra yo aina shuk di ngobo khane khol shuk ge yor res. Ta dila chajik yor di ni domna cha cha yor ra digi ya di yor sung ra ya khandir da. Box khari ni shuk box digi sale shuk ya. Okay. The force on the earth by the box.
The force on the earth by the box. Here is the earth, and the box is exerting a force which is equal to that. Force on earth by box.
The di khar chawol na say khola gala ni shogom digi shuk ya jodi sungu ras ya chik di.
So the earth is pulling on us,
Say khola nganju ma thingi ras.
and we are pulling up on the earth.
Thana shi nganju phai khalas thingi yo na shi nganju say khola su thingi res.
The earth is pulling on the airplane,
Ta gangla namju dura diga ni say khola gi yan thinshu di thingi res.
and the airplane is pulling up on the earth.
Thana shi yan say khola di nin su yan thanda namju digi rangja su thingi res shuk di.
What do you think about that?
Kyan zu di thol samju khari yes.
We used a lot of English on the board. Is what is written on the board clear?
Ale nganju di gala inji mangbush thi do la sigi. Kyan zu seu do la sti. Ko su do es. Yes, it's clear. It's okay. Ko su do changma. Su do. Yes, it's clear for you.
The earth is pulling on the bird that is flying. The bird is pulling up on the earth.
Thana se sadi thanda gangla chupur dira di thingi res thana shi chu digi ya shu tharang gi ya thingi res.
The earth is pulling on my keys.
Di dimi di say kolai ma thingi res.
And my keys are pulling up on the earth with exactly the same strength force.
Thana shi shuk tharang ya ni thanda dimi digi chulu shu khaju gya na shi phal shu su thingi res rangja.
Why do my keys move but the earth does not move?
Ani shuk chikbar lara tinte hindu gala ni dimi di gujo tang dos ase khole gujo tang da di kharchin res. Shuk chikbar sunra. It's because of khare jise khebar yo ni res lani because of the differences in weight.
Because the mass of the earth is so huge that this force is not going to move it.
Hailana say khole dose di cherane pe chumbu ra cheza ani di yogu chigyo mares.
So these are not the two forces of a single pair.
Ta thanda chayor le jora di shedu gola del shugni do dini thanda chagi ya ni di chagi yo mares dini logai ba di mares chagi.
This pair, box, floor, floor, box.
Thanda del shug ji chen do digi ya di khandi chawor lana di res.
This pair, box, earth, earth, box.
Thana shi di cha swinge ya jora di cha de res. Say kola da gam dira.
Do we have questions about this diagram?
Ta thanda de bimus tisa di gan la khiran zo thiwa yo es thogo da thiwa do.
안다다 칼라나 나초변에 텐슈텐 여러변나 타바게 타바 지제 파쇼 멍안 드쇼 멍아진 타바텐 여러 파츠 슈텐 여러 슈츠네 슈츠운도 다다 칼라나 파텐인가 츠텐인가 제여라 다 분위기 슈츠 집어지 졸레고 나와라 파텐에 되게 슈츠페 쥐타바텐나 츠텐에도 쥐타바텐이 나와라 이네 다다 칼라바이나 슈쿠니라 폰쇼 리도 지디 파 Japan lagi doa, tilhaya the color na ponsi chipe ongi leola tini lagi doa. Tini by na pena JC chipe ongi lagi race ra ponsi chipe JC chipe ongi. That tini by na pena combo jit Japanese tenshu ten combo di Japan tendo ya jora. Shoot chechu ongi.
pena pajo mi nga kerma chi kichi nga ji kichi nga keni wa hagus kichi nga kichi pajo menga sujo menga che menga ni de japa da kaune chipa chichang che ina khoni tenro teni kebon roya doas hyu thean chibare se doas ni dadong khoni kebon roya doas o men zo chechong chipares sha kaune chipar jitse chipares chato makilo chana khoto chipa chichang yeres ngare yan ina khoto pat tenri she de kebon roya doas.
So the question is, during tug of war, like there are 5 people on each side, same physique and same weight, but still one wins and the other team loses, right? So how come this happens?
Ngid khalana tada di jati chipa chichong lego mares tada khalana ngaso pena not tada nan papa da ani khaseolana saji ki ma thia da not ki ya thia chor pena tada ti mares pena tada ngaso demi da pena sai kola ni de tenshu le cha sha ba ina sai kola de demi ni de tenhu chipa chichong chago re lo da re sai kola ki ma thia wa de demi ki ya thia ni de tenhu chipa chago res ine demi gi jo jo do sai kola gi jo mi jo ji sen kala na ponsi che chu ang re lo da tin ba ina pena japa ji de company an tenshu thia ba ina kombu di japa pa thia ge an tada tij le gi do as ne suji otati khandis le ores ponsi che ba ina japa to ponsi che yoras.
So this is a wonderful question that we will address tomorrow.
Tionya yabu shudos ine di len di sangi geginis.
So we have 2 questions so far that have been raised that we have said we will need to answer them tomorrow.
Ta thanda tionyi lessons, tionyi di len gegins sheins rama, tio len di khadu gegilana sangi gegins.
One question is the question of tug of war.
Tio chi kharashelana thanda thaba thenre se jura di rishas shu duredi.
If I have a little kid here, a little child here, and I push on the child, pull on the child,
thaba thenre se du galara di jola pu chunju ju yo ainas and stamatos khorangi themba inas.
if the forces are equal that I'm exerting on the child and the child is exerting on me, according to Newton's third law, then why does the child move and I do not move?
Diladu gola ani ta Newton gi tendim sumba ta oina shuk chiba chikyang gyag yores lara shuk se diladu gola pugu di gujo khachin tang yores lan thiwali roas.
That was one question, and the other question was a moving object, an object that is already moving, does it require a force to keep moving?
Ale thiwani di ngola thanda lawa chang kap suyora di gujo tang roa gujo ta go suela changi roas jela le chawe jela ani gujo ta jora dila shuk gugu yores lan thiwani wadi res.
In order for us to be able to answer those very good questions, we need some more experience with these diagrams.
Ta thiwa denzo dende rish da di leng gala ngaran zo khari thola nyamnyong gugu yorla na dende remote dan shda dende remote dan di nyamnyong gugu yores.
So we ask you to be patient for 24 hours.
Che zanta di nyamnyong gugu yorla du gala chizu ni step shiringal tis chi soba gumro chesra.
And I wanted to show you that I do remember the questions.
Ine kiran zo sende chu maris thiwa dinge samlo na yes.
And I also know that you will remember the questions and you will not let me forget.
Anchik de ha yes kiran zo la themba yores thiwa di an kiran zo nga themba jeju maris thiwa di.
So, here we have this force and this force and this force are Newton's third law force pairs.
Ta tanda Newton ki tentin sumba la chaji yor lawora shudi di ta waina tanda di da di ni cha cha yores.
And this force, the gravitational force, has this gravitational force on the Earth by the box as its force pair twin.
Tanda tenshu geje shedu wala digi shuk di da di ni chaji yora di ni cha yores yanindi.
So this is equal to this.
Di da di ni chanyum roas chipa roas.
This is equal to this.
Thana shi di da di wo di ni chipa roas.
But why is this equal to that?
Hina ya di da di ni chipa kharchin res.
Danda genla di shugi ngaso bishugi kola da dus ngode chetsama bishu shadi bishugi ngo da gari phai ngode chetsama bishu shadi garshena phai theba samda rekba samda den rijil da goa gyag do den ge samda misi gi chu du gi be sujin de so yang aso gi phai ge da phai sashi barla da pangda roji khari la jam sai shuk gyadi bai hango chirya direla so da din asing aso digi ga sa nai di chorya jora 나시기 다 디초려디 디디다 아니 초려기 된데 소리 왕시 지어라 딩이 벌려다 코니 비슈기 요메디 간데 하고 그러신 회치기다 디지지로 아니 가서 나이 왕 가서다 나이 왕시기 회바 디초려 지어라 다 디니 초려디 비슈기 요바디 코니 비슈기 요바디 단도 비발라요 비바 코니 코니기 된데기 소리 참말다 부슈 요바든 가서 판다 가리기 무진치 그러시네. 지원이버디 된다 다 뒤친데서 아니 다 남비 켈레면 안신 세리버서야 양 뒤친 찍찍다 책 말했어 세워봐. 다 마체비나 다니 피기 게다 피기 사시 발라다 파 방다도지 파 슈게 방다도지 된점아 코니베 한국 지려야 되스. 되는 순서. 디순점다 마체바 코니 지려야 돼 가리나. 코니 책 매버이나. 코니 바 지려야 돼.
So there was a question about touching.
And
that is a wonderful example of the idea of models in science.
As
a macroscopic object, myself and you all, we can come up with a complete explanation by assuming that macroscopic surfaces touch. We could also ask microscopically what is happening if I were able to zoom in?
Dila du nganzo par chero tan te yo nanglo di mama thamo ta waina khari chunguri lan jik ta waina nanglo la.
And that would require a different explanation.
Ta di mama ta waina thamo galta du gala deshe logaj kya bukhi gi res.
Which is similar to the question about the molecules of the food coming to my nose and me having the sensation of a nice smell.
Dila du thanda thiwa jora di da dewa chagi res kirangi ni sho na shi thanda thima thigi ta dudul jora je ro di chu yongwa che thana shi na sore jora di ni da dewa chagi dos.
So we need to choose whether we are going to give a macroscopic explanation or a microscopic explanation.
Dila du gala deshe gyadang lowa yor la ra ta ngajo deshe gyadang didam gu res yana ragbe thoni deshe gyago do yana thamol ma phamni deshe gyago dos di ta gu res.
When you take the next classes,
ta jinda jala engyu mithuni li roas
you will discover that all matter is made out of atoms, and atoms are made out of charged particles.
Dila do ani khiran mama jinda mama jodugal khari ha go lana thanda phemje khande jim bana phemje khande jim bana changma duteng gi dup sha jo che an thana su duteng din changma khare lana thanda charge lana thanda kedul injo dinde rik cha de res.
And those charged particles can have like charge or unlike charge.
Dinde indu galata thanda kedul jura dinala ani thanda quran sugi thanda poda modalan yura chikba imba dasung imba da dasung mai imba dinde khigi yores.
And if the charges are like charges, they repel, they push each other.
Kesi kedul ni deta dasung imba ina an quran ni kharchigilana kedul ni di pensu phasu tharing ru jura buya di chagi yores.
So the charges in the atoms at my fingertips push against the charges in the atoms of the wall.
Ta thanda dutenal kharire kedul yor lagora denzo kedul ni thanda jugu itse de la kedul yo digi kharchigir lana thanda chibe na dutengi kedul dila bigu yores.
In the same way, there is a chemical interaction between the molecules of the food and my nerves in my nose.
Thana shi thanda dewa trash ta di chibachi kyang todan di khwal yor lawena thanda se niyong we zeri jora di dangi nagu thanda chwa jora dini para dewa di chibachi gu rest todan di.
But we do not need a microscopic explanation to be able to answer macroscopic phenomena.
Ta chidangi nganzo rakbe thwa yo ri jora chhe dinzo nganzo inji miji ma thamo gala phabni dishi gya gu yo mares.
So in this workshop we are going to concentrate on macroscopic explanations.
Chezan thanda sabjong di gabla nganzo dishi khari gal ge lana rakbe gal dishi ge res.
And we can come back during the year or in subsequent courses and ask about microscopic explanations of the same phenomena.
Ta jela lo ya thanda sumba shiwali ra di gabsu ani thanda thamo gal ma phabe jora di an dishi ge di du res chesu.
Because the courses during the year are very, very important.
Hai nana ta lobjo chidu gal lo ge lorim dodang jora di khechumbu chayo res dodang di.
The teachers in those courses and the translators are extremely important. So it is almost 11 o'clock, and I think that this might be a good time for us to stop. Please make sure that you have this in your notebook. We will come back in the afternoon, the whole group, at 1:30.
So we wanted to, this afternoon, we want to give you lots of practice with these free body diagrams, with these diagrams.
Tanda rimu mangbush tiye juya, di ene kera zo jongdar che juya yis ningu yab zinda jidala. Di tanda zinda chidura, di na rimu tiye gi jongdar che tuzu tiye yis.
I didn't actually mean to say it, but in English they have a special name. We call them free body diagrams.
Tanda di thanye di da pyo na juya di da khashi ine nganzo pyo chigu yores, di la kharla wala na free body diagram lagi yores rimu di.
In this case, we looked at just the book or the box. We didn't worry about anything else. We focused just on the box.
Tanda rimu di ro pe shawai na, nganzo ki khari rang la tunang chiwar la na, shokam jura. Shogam di rang la tunang chires shimba sama di machine tunang machine shogam rang la tunang chires.
So we thought of the box sort of free from other things.
Di la du wala ta shimba chi me ta cha shagora shimba khekuj me ache shogam di chiku yo din des si yores chezang free from la na shimba me vela gora des chik sha yores.
And then so the box represents the body, not necessarily the physical body, but we use the word body to represent objects.
Di la du ngobo den zo ngonzo chue che du ta body lan thangi sog la ni pheju chi yore sugbu la na namju ngonzo mi sugbu di ke shi yo mares sug la no ngobo hande jina di sug lan body lan thangi di shares.
So we call this kind of diagram a free body diagram.
Cheza an di remush do di ming de la free body diagram lan ming de ne ta yores.
So using your whiteboards, we want everybody in the room to make a diagram of the forces associated with this mass of weights.
Ta thanda remote hiya di remote hidu gala ta shuk thanda di khari da dewe thigor lana di jichech do thanda di ngobo shada di dan dewe shuk khari me di thieres.
So we're concerning ourselves with this.
Ta thanda nganzo thunang chisa cho di khari cha de remote hidu di ngobo di cha de res.
Okay?
Seu cha so sa thanda remote hiya di.
So what are the forces acting here?
Ta del shuk khari gya de res thanda di ta hoina. Ngobo di. Both upward and downward force is there.
Yeah? Okay. So why don't you erase the drawings you have on your boards now and make a new drawing of this?
Tangoi la remote hisa jo jwa karwa di sub sharo chis di sub ni thanda remote di dan te sawaj thura di thira ko zuru chis.
And you can also do this experiment. You can hang the weights from the force meter and you can even see how much does the spring move.
Le ta jigo di thanda di shadu gole jise di ma thing ro di thendu spring di khaju gujo ta ya jora di yo hande ru du di ta hu res chi.
Where did I steal this from?
Shall I tell them to draw just the weight?
To draw the arrows.
Maybe it feels like physics class is turning into art class.
Dusta rango ngogam rekba jindash da di güzel zinda do charu dulas.
And some of you I see are very good drawers.
Ta dusta do remote khyo and mangbu dulas tinala.
But for representing the weights, you can just draw something very simple like this.
The remote shoe ning jumu da ta tha yo shoe thigu gu ma res tab de de chunju station di res ngobo jya thanda jigo kya do di chang do di de ro ji chunjan di res.
And you don't need to draw the spring at all.
Ani thanda spring jya di thigu gu ro ma res di remuna.
Almost all of you said that there was a downwards force and there was also an upwards force.
Ta kinzo pecho yi khari so res na shug yora mala shug ji ge du thana ji gang la shug ji ge du la ni she sons.
So draw arrows in the same way we drew for the box. Can you draw arrows that represents the upwards force and the downward force?
Thangin mo la remote hidu gala manzo shuk di chela ya dugo na dinde chi ma dugo na dinde chungu yo di remote nang shi thanda di ngo bush da changdo di gala ani kinzo shuk di chen tu ros on di ti tu ro.
Please don't draw the spring.
Tak puch khiran so thanda spring ji da on di tu ma ti ro chis do di da ani shuk di chen jura da di chi buch.
Just draw the weights.
di chikbu che di ta ani shu kho drui me jura shu gi di dadi di dani di chikbu chiro chis
Oh, give it up a soul. So we have a mass.
manzol de se ji ro astela
Some people use different names for this, and that's great, no problem.
ta su loga mi loga indu kala thangi loga sha astela mi loga ta shas
Some people called it the iron.
khashi dila kharila shlana chagla shas
That's good, no problem.
tigres dila waina
What's a good name we can all use, though, to refer to this?
ta dila mi yapush ta waina changma inyam do khari shagi istila wait
Wait.
jise lagyo wait
Iron. Yeah, I like iron. So let's refer to this as the iron.
ta dila ming chaglan ta shagosa ra
Okay, so we're going to call this the iron.
ta di ming chagre das ra
What are the two forces acting on this iron?
ta di chagji do digala shu kho pha gya de res one is downward
One is downward
one is upward
and one is upward. Let's start with the downward force.
ta ma yore sung ra deni go chu gos thangbo
What is this force?
ta di shu di khari res gravitational force
So it's a gravitational force. So how do we write that? First we know we write a big F.
thangbo khari lana shuk ji ros las di hindu gala f line thi is
We're always going to write a big F.
ta shuk la chuen la kha thi rang jo f chimbu ji thi res gi
And just because we don't forget, we will write a G to remind us it's gravity.
ta ngan jo themba ma je che do an di gang la ji ji thi shagi is di ji di khari chung gor lana then shuk lan gravitational force la ya di chung res
What is this gravitational force acting on?
di shuk di yore la ra shuk di khawa la gya de res on iron
On iron. So we can write it's on the iron. So the force of gravity on the iron
chagi gang la then shuk lan gya she res de la
by what?
khari is
By Earth. The whole planet Earth is acting on the iron.
sai pula chazan di da thanda khari gala ten de la na thanda cha di gala shuk di kya de res
What about the other force?
an shuk shimba khari yo res dina upward force
Upward force. Is that force, I'm going to draw an arrow to represent that force. Should that arrow be the same length as the arrow for the downward force?
ta thanda ya la chi yo res sung ra shuk di ta shuk di che jo ra ta da di ring dung jo ra di chik ba go go re ya lo ga go go res should be same length
So that's our upward force.
di shuk ya di ros
It's a force, so I label it with a big F.
di shuk ros che zan di chuen la nge f chimbu di thi is
What is this force acting on?
ta di shuk di khol gya de res on string
The force is, what is the force pushing on?
shuk di khol gya de res bu ya tang sa khol tang de res cha khan di cha di spring lagi di cha lagi thanda cha la na di chung gor da koi cha la ming tang sa ba di sung ya shuk gya sa khol di kala on string balance on the spring
The spring? Does everybody think the spring?
상마이 무슨 유엘스티 스프링 갈 유엘스 슈디 이슈아길라 짝 디로아 디갈 레숭게 Dire phajo di spring di. The shuk di khol gyur. Gyagin suri gyasa suri. Like by the force is created by the spring.
Okay, the force is created in the same way this gravitational force is created by the earth. We're saying that this force is created by the spring.
The thing mo lang anzo di shuk chuyen jura di say thin shuk di re lagi yos. Thana shi thanda del shuk chuyen jura di kharan su spring di re su yos.
But what object is that force acting on?
The shuk gyagin di re lagora gyasa khwa cha de res. This iron.
On the iron. So this is a force that's on the iron by
shuk gyagin gyasa cha di cha res gyagin su res ata. Spring.
And so we're using the word spring to refer to this.
The spring la thangin pheju chi dos di chungu res ngogodi.
Did some of you get, I saw many of you actually had a number.
Kenzo mangcha idinal thonsos angi rotiyo sarra angi tishas.
Can we hear some of the numbers you remeasured?
The angi thanda tsero yab angi roti sar khashi thanga yo thiyo sara. Di khiran jo sung da sa angi andra khari khari ras. 2.5.
So many of you got 2.5, and what was it the n here?
The ne de la khar dosa. Thanda ta gyasa gyos do del khar do n ti dos.
Yeah. And so that was n, and n stands for Newton.
Del n ti dolas tata de la the n la do Newton la phugu res.
He was a very special scientist, so he gets his own unit.
Dila do khod mix huge res theri ba an thanda ngajo che jelje git di thanda ming shadu ga lai phora ming di kan le de res.
And how much is this force then?
The this should di khajo res. Same 2.5.
Same. Any questions about this?
Di thola chua US.
So when we measure, when we hang something, when we hang the iron from the spring, this is the force that we read.
The mubu jik chang waina thanda ro cha sha waina thanda ngajo do di spring digal chang ros digal sung ngajo gi shuk di cha de res.
It is the force that we read is the force on the iron by the spring.
Ta thanda shuk di ta du gal khandis ta la du ngajo shuk gyasa di cha de che gyagen di spring di ba chitu gi res.
Because this force and this force are equal,
Ta di shuk ni dos ni ga chik ba indus yin sans.
We then infer that this force is 2.5 newtons.
Dil ta ni ngajo la tur la wa do ta ni ga shuk ni ga chik ba indu gala dilaya ani shuk hajur la la na ngajo ni chek nga newton ni chek nga yor la res.
We do not measure the force that Earth exerts on the iron directly, we measure it indirectly.
The thegar gi ngajo gi ta thanda se khola gi di cha diga le shuk haju ge du lai jora di thegar gi che gya ma res hine thanda ngajo thegar khari gya yor la na thanda spring di gi cha di shuk haju gya me di ha ko du ani ni ba di ma tu res di.
So here is a little bit of thinking about words.
The dila du gal thanda thange da chik de jo gal ani samlu tang we ro cha gi res.
We use in English the word weight to mean two different things, and so it is important to know how the other person is using the word.
Ta thanda thange pheju chel ke ba shu du res inji do cha sha na weight lash do di ni la phugu res ji se la jora weight la di ni la phugu res.
Some people use the word weight to mean the reading on the spring scale.
Ta mi khashi gi weight la thanda ji se la jora thange di kharil pheju chigor la na thanda ngajo spring gal ta angi khaju ligi image che ji do di lag lag res.
Some other people mean it to be the gravitational force. Weight is the gravitational force on an object by Earth.
카시기 가르치고르나 단다 지셀라죠 웨이트레 탕예시도 디 단다 먼저 사이 텐슈 주라 가주면 디가 샤기요레스.
In our workshop, we will mean it to be weight is the gravitational force on an object by Earth.
다 단다 먼저 sabjon di ringla 단다 웨이트레 탕예시도 지셀라 디 카릴 구구르 라와이나 단다 사이 텐슈 주라 디 단다 모보 한디지르 텐슈 탱요 디 구구르스 웨이트레 탕예디.
Is that okay?
This is uchaselas.
So when we use the word weight, we will mean the gravitational force on an object by Earth.
다 단다 웨이트레 탕예시도 지셀라디 디 탕예디 카릴 구구르 라와이나 사이 텐슈 디 모보 한디지 임바이나 텐슈 개구라 디 텐슈 딜 구구르스 웨이트레 탕예디.
So if a helicopter came here and picked me up and moved me to the top of the Himalayas, Earth would pull on me a little bit less.
The Kizidella helicopter jeep hub, and the Stamatos Koran Yakan Kidroinas, Himalaya Riora, the Zella Shawainas, that and that circulate thing race, tend this chua race.
Because at the top of the Himalayas, I would be further away from the center of the Earth.
Tend the Tenshu Chua Kachin Lavir Lawina, say a colleague Kijura, the Ninitis Taring a Chayu race, read Celodu, this toilet race.
It would be the same me,
Yeah, Stamatos Kora Ranja race.
but the Earth would be pulling on me a little bit less.
In that Tenshu Jura, say colleague tend this Mungro, the Nunga race, Duruina.
So I would say that my weight would be less at the top of the Himalayas.
Dila duta ngarangi jise jura di Himalaya ganle dugala jise di nyunga du la res.
If a spaceship took me halfway between the Earth and the Moon, this force would be much, much less.
Ta thyanas ni le riche gal shasa thandu ta sai kola da thanda dawe gi phar yora da phanang la phar thiro inas ta to du yora din na thiro ina thandu thanda di thinshu di nyungru du res.
It would be the same me,
Stamatos khora rangja res.
but the Earth would be pulling on me less.
Ine sai thinshu the jura di to the di tis chungru du res.
I don't want you to move them. Wow.
Where's it go?
Okay.
So they're both pulling on me.
Kronzu niga nga thende res.
You can see the blood rushing away from my finger.
Nge zu ne tha thongu dos yama juk de jo.
And you can see both of the springs are compressed.
An tanda di nanglo spring niga machir sha dos thongu dos.
They're both pulling the same amount,
The Koraniga iten ji shukju tanda tse jura di chikpa res.
this spring reads about 25. I can't see that one.
25.
And that one reads about, the one in Stamatis' hand reads about 25.
Di jo ie choch do dilage spring di tadu gal tse je du nisyanga thung dos phajo de nisyanga chikpa resas.
They are, each is applying a force on me,
Niga ngala shuk ge res.
but I'm not moving.
Ine nga gujo tang mindos.
So this is the same as if there were no forces.
Diladu gala shuk meo da chikpa ros di.
So 25 newtons this way and 25 newtons this way is the same as 0 newtons.
Diladu gala chok ni ra. Chok di jo la Newton nisyanga thana chok phajo de la nisyanga yimbaina lego da chikpa chagi ros.
Okay. Now we would like you to think about a different phenomenon.
Ta chö minda ji gala samlo ta yin skiranzo.
So I want you to imagine that we are out in the courtyard.
Ta kiranzo thanda chilo la yo samni ta samlo na sharo chis.
Is it a big box?
There is a big box on the ground.
아니 사이 강라 쇼금 친구 주요레스 다 쇼금도 송스 감 친구 주요레스
One monk is pushing on it like this.
단다 감 지샤라 딜라 쿠쇼치기 부jettan 되요레스
This is what most monks look like to me. Very happy.
니 돈도 쿠쇼 만체 되는 통고 둘레스 기고 되데 니로시
Oh, maybe they should have robes.
한데 자지 요쇼
What should we call this monk? Because we will need a name.
따디 쿠쇼데 나조 민구고 요레라스 때 카리 라가서 코라라 리무디나
Tashi?
다시
Tashi, okay. Tashi.
No.
On the other side is a rope.
초 심바시도 델 카리올라나 타과 요레스
That is being pulled by another monk.
디 타과디 가지고 올라나요 쿠쇼 심바지기 텐데 요레스
What should that monk be called?
또 쿠쇼 심바딜 민 카리 따가서
Ah,
소남
Sonam.
So Tashi is pushing and Sonam is pulling.
따단다 타시기 비디오 요레스 타나시 소남기 땡기 요레스
But the box does not move.
히나디 감디 부jettan 요 마레스
We would like you to draw a force diagram for the box.
딜라 디타야 단다 리무트 해줘야 디 테레스 슈기 리무디 디 리무디 카리간 카리다 티 테르나 감주라 감디간 슈기 해줘디
Just the box.
Just the box.
감디 치부지 투난치니 테레스
So Tashi is pushing and Sonam is pulling, but the box does not move.
따 단데 차 가지고 올라나 타시 비디오 요레스라 부jettan 요 요레스 소남기 텐데 요레스 히나 감디 부jettan 요 마레스 네당 덴데 주레스
We want you to draw all the forces using arrows
따 키란조 리무트 두가라 가지길라나 슈 탄츠고라 슈 츠엔라 카두네 다디 뚱고 요레스
and also by labeling them on which object is the force exerted and by which object is exerts the force.
따디 슈디 다갈 뚱라 태가나시 아니 따게는 건주 티기야 슈 갸겐 수리 갸사 수르 레저라 디 뚱고 요레스
Okay? And Tashi is pushing like this.
타시 드니 부jettan 요 요레스
Not like this and not like that.
부jettan 당 주라 디 캅두 라바 캅두 신 부jettan 사 덴데 당기 요레스 야 마레 마 마레 캅두 부jettan 요 요레스
시기적세 따가는데라 홀자가 시기적센들이 소나무 시기적센들로
그 수수하고 말이야.
여기 이렇게 가지고 찍어야 돼.
가지고 찍어라. 그 부시잖아. 그 비자장 거라. 그 큰거라. 큰거인데 얘네들 감들이 나자.
쇼감들 다 보스 감시라 왜냐면 총도 간에 주서래 간시는 테스
들으잖아. 괜찮아 들으잖아. 근데 시기장 얘네는 무엇이 되는
Not gravity, no.
단다 그래서 사카르다 아니 어떻게서는데 슐로레요레스
So this force that's pushing up, it's acting on the box. It's on the box.
길라다 소저 파싱기 투저 심손손스라 소저 파싱 단다 추주 체가 요라 디 추주 체가 페 엔디젤라 속된 시워디 튠튠지 초기 인손스